So let's make some geometry rotation. And what I want to do, you can go to tornado noise and use the same scatter. So basically we copy this or just add a null object to say, okay, this is my ground. So it's going to be my P ground, particle ground. Alrighty, and just for me, you can use your own colors if you want to. I just like to use this black one. All right, so let's go to geometry and set another one stuff. That's going to be, I don't know, we can call it debris, right? Can't call it debris. So we begin with just the object merge to get my particles. Let's go to level 1. Oh no, sorry, to my tornado noise and P ground. Here you are. So it's going to be P ground, and basically I can copy noise and many of this stuff, even to the time shift. Here we go. Connect this. Now with the noise, I definitely should, maybe I will leave it. Okay, let's leave it just, like it is. Because mainly we will see this rotation somewhere under the ground, so it doesn't matter where we get it. So I use the same blast to go to the DOP network, and here with our rotation, what I want to have is, well, definitely I don't need to create 25,000 particles. Let's create like 150. Okay, and now the vortex forces, I should have the big orbit force, well, not such big as we have in the vortex, and pretty low output force. I don't want them go up pretty fast, and I actually don't need a attraction, any attraction, so let's make it 0. Let's see, pop in, pop kill, but hey, there we go. Hey, where's my particles? It's my blast node. Here you go. So what is the problem? What's wrong with you? Where's my particles? I don't get it. Oh, somehow I disabled simulation in my project. So let's see it. Too big turbulence. Let's go here. Let's go to the noise, and I guess that I should have a parallel noise, but even smaller, like 0.1. And with the time multiplied by 5. Okay, but maybe amplitude smaller, not a 50, let's say 25. And I need a roughness, a big roughness, so just 0.4 maybe. And yeah, that's much more appreciated. And it's round again. And again, I need to change my curve to the line. Set a parameter. And vector. Gonna be y vector. Maybe like 4. And reconnect it again. So maybe in some cases it can be useful when it's rotating around the angle of my curve, but in this case I guess it should be like this. A little bit smaller, but anyway we can transform it again with the speed I think that's good. Now the next thing is pop wind, and with the pop wind, I can set a resistance like 0.2, so my wind influence will be smaller. All those guys, I believe, by default, maybe like 40. I don't know, it will go to 40 in a Y position or not. But what else I want to add here? I want to add a little bit of spin. I don't need a pop kill. It definitely won't go up than 75 somewhere else. But what I want to do, if we cache those particles, I will use the copy stamp, and then I will use some geometry. So make a tube, make a simple tube, and its tube should be a polygon and very, very, very small size. So with radius, it should be like even smaller, like 0.03, something like that. And the height is just a bit smaller. What is the noise here? And the bigger rows and columns. Well, especially rows. Columns we can leave as they and add some rotation. So let's type $FF to make some rotation. Good. All right. Now let's go and add some noise, because it's very straight and I need to add some noise to this geometry. I don't want to get too many polygons because I will copy this guy from my points. And now you can see that there's a lot of them. Now it's like flying sticks. So this is going to be my geo noise. And let's add some turbulent noise for this guy and add this noise to position like we already did, but in a different case. So let's play with the noise, and it's by default sounds alligator. Let's alligator, but smaller noise. 0.5 amplitude, maybe a little bit bigger, and it's looking not too good. But anyway, we can play around and rotate them randomly, because now they're looking the same. So we can play a little bit and use the stamp option to maybe randomize amplitude or randomize offset for each of this point. Okay, we can do this anyway, but we can just drag a ptnumb and make an offset for each of those guys. But what I really want to do here is add some random rotation, and to do that, go here and add a spin, pop spin, and axis relative 360. And I shoot template point attributes. And but they're just spinning, but what I want to add is random rotation to those. So let's cache those particles. I don't need to cache 500. Or we can do this, because it's really, not too many particles, not 500,000 or 1 million particles. It's just, how many particles do we have? We have like 300 particles per frame. So we can save it. Let's just rename it. It's going to be particle debris. And I will use the time shift just with 100 frames. Oops, come on. That's nice. We have some rotation. We have a spinning, but we need to add a rotation, the random rotation for those guys. So, but not just a rotation. I guess that the P scale we should have a little bit random. So let's set an attribute wrangle. So the first thing is a P scale. And a P scale, I want to use the random as in always. Random by ptnum, but I want to fit this guy with each time when I try to tie something here, it will change. So I will display this wrangle. Now the minimum value should be like 0.2 and the maximum, I don't know, 0.75, something like that. So now with this, we're gonna have a little bit different result. The bigger, the smaller one. But what's most important is that we need to add some rotation. So let's create a vector attribute axis, and it should be like maybe by x-axis. So 1, 0, 0. The next vector, like a normalized vector, and it should be a normalize of my axis. It's a little dark here, so I can type with some mistakes. And now the float variable, let's call this random, and I'm gonna copy this fit by ptnum. Let's just add some random values, and with 0 and 360. So the thing is, we create the angle between 0 and 360 randomly for each particle. Now with the vector 4, let's call this quarter, and it's going to be quaternion. And it should be my random value, but in radians. My range, and by normalized vector. And now this this variable quad I want to use for the orient attribute. So orientation, it should be my q multiply, and I want to multiply in those brackets. I should type 0, not u, 0, 0, 1, and my quad. So now it's randomly oriented. Go to the camera. Somewhere there. So I should add a clean after the copy sub. All right. And add some color, I guess. I can colorize it, or I can do this and with the shader. So add a null, hey, tab, where you are, add a null, let's call this geo out, and a black one. So again, our render volume became bigger and bigger. So that's gonna be my debris. Let's take, hey, oh, it should try to visualize our bottom vortex. Okay, but I don't want to do this. Go to debris and geo, hey, debris is this node. This debris geo out. So with the upscale letters, I try to name my render nodes, and with the standard size of the letters, I try to name my, well, like nodes for simulation. So geo out, there is my geometry, but I definitely need to make it bigger. So turn on level 1, go to debris, go to other objects, and select a transform. So there's going to be my debris, and make it 2 times bigger, 3 times bigger, something like that. 3 times bigger should be fine. So we have the same position in the center. Cool. And let's set up the output. So the first thing is go to material palette and go and set the principal light shader. Material, not you. So set some green color. Let's go and, where is my camera? Hey, where's my background image? Okay, camera, material, and let's just grab the base color from those guys, maybe just a little bit bigger green, just tiny bit, and blue. It's looking good. All right. So I don't need any reflectivity too much. Let's rename it. Let's call it grass. Okay. Go to debris. Let's go in grass. Now with the output, what I should have is another mention node. I type it new because I now need to render geometry, not volumetric. So definitely what we need to have is go and set 100 from 25, camera 1, hip name, don't need to, so it's my debris. And for this kind of rendering, what I want to add here is an object, select my debris, and as the faucet mat, I choose level 1 and the bottom. They should be a faucet mat object. And allow motion blur, just get back here and enable, yeah, we have a motion blur because I always copy. But anyway, it's always good when you double check your parameters. And with the motion blur, I guess that we need to, let's just make a test render. I guess I need to increase the pixel samples because we have a small parts, a very small parts. Let's render small geometry parts. So let's go to images. And maybe I add the same direct lighting per each variable light. Okay, here's my geometry. Let's see. And you can see there's a lot of noise. It's pretty noisy. So let's add like 6 by 6. Yeah, it's better. It's much better. You can use the physical based rendering, doesn't too much difference. That's my sunlight and skylight, and especially in the dark background you can see a difference. So there's a tiny bit of noise, but it's pretty good. The rendering is pretty fast, so we can add a little bit more. Again, this noise is not just sampling noise, but the motion blur sampler. So let's go here back to 6 and geo time samples, maybe add it's almost the same. All right. Cool. Now render this thing out too. And let's go to compositing. Let's see what do we have. And after the render, I find some, well, it's looking not bad on those frame 25, something like this, but here around frame 50, 55, you can see it begin to create this, I don't know, like a lighting sign or something. It's not looking good, and I want to fix that. So I'm back to my scene here, and with the debris, let's find a reason why it's happened. Let's go to my noise, and it's looking good as I think. Oh, that's what happened. And the main reason is I create rotation for my tube, so our points change their position and our noise change position too. Well, sometimes it can be helpful because it's not create the same, noise for my parts. But what I want to do, the main thing is not the problem that this has a weird face, but all those objects have the same noise. That's a problem. So how we can fix this is simply I can go here to the stamp input, and let's set a value for ptnum. So I take the number of each point going from this right way, and let's call this variable rand. Go inside of the attribute wap. Now for the offset, I guess for x, I will tap stamp. Now what we need to add here. So as in always, we have a help. So as an example, stamp, then we need to set the node which we will grab the variable. So our node called copy, our variable called rand, and this is the default value. So, and you will be here. So copy, and it's gonna be my rand and 0. So now we can see that we have a different noise offset for each of those points depending on the point number. It's a little bit weird because maybe let's change the amplitude to 1 because I don't want to have too many noise. Yeah, that's looking much better now. Another thing I want to change here, if I go back to the nuke, we can see that our parts rising up and up and up and up and up and up and up. So I want to fix this. I want to make those particles stay on their position and not going more than this height, I guess. So what I can do is go to, let's disable simulation for now. Let's go somewhere to frame 50. Let's go to my forces. Let's enable add a key for that, holding an Alt key, the up force multiplier, and then go to frame like 75 and remove the up multiplier. So we will leave just an orbit multiplier, and that will cause rotating particles at the same height. All right, and maybe I said that let's create our particles just till frame 100. So I don't want to create too many particles on the ground. So let's say that if the frame number will be smaller than 100, let's see 100, then the activation will be 1, and then after frame 100 here on frame 101, our constant activation will be 0, which is mean we will, hey, what's wrong? No, I have less than 100. Oh, let's go, sorry. Yeah, it's not an attribute. It's a global variable, so yeah, now we disable that. And now you can see that we have rotation just at in this area. And it's shrinking a little bit, but I guess that I will use like 100 frames for rendering, so it will be enough. Cool. Now we need to recache those files again. Let's go to point debris and save disk on background and render this thing out again. So let's do this.